The galaxy had already written humanity's obituary. Their worlds were dust, their fleets shattered, their history fading into myth among the stars. The Galactic Council, made of ancient races who had ruled the cosmos for millennia, marked the end of Earth's line at the Battle of Perseus Gate. No human transmissions had been heard since. But far beyond their scanners, in the silent void where light itself hesitated to travel, one last fleet still moved, slow, wounded, but alive. They called themselves Fleet 9. 12 ships, battered and hollowed by years of running, their hulls scorched, their systems decaying. They were ghosts of a species that refused to admit it was dead. Admiral Ava Corrin stood as the last commanding voice of humankind. She had led fleets that no longer existed, fought wars that no one would remember, and buried more friends than any being should. Yet she still woke each day to command. Each human aboard knew survival was a lie stretched thin. They had no home to return to, no allies, no colonies left to resupply. But they had purpose, a word that had carried humanity further than logic ever could. Alien historians would later call it madness, that strange human instinct to fight when all was already lost. But in that darkness, it was the only thing keeping the last heartbeat of their species alive. Fleet 9 drifted through nebula clouds like wounded predators, reactors whispering on minimal power, crews surviving on recycled air and faith. And still, every night, they gathered around dim consoles to play old Earth recordings, songs of oceans they would never see again, laughter from cities that no longer existed, voices reminding them what they were fighting for. To the Council, they were nothing. Primitive animals who had overreached and paid the price. No alien ship pursued them. They were beneath concern, irrelevant against civilizations that spanned galaxies. Yet that arrogance had always been the downfall of those who underestimated humans. The fleet's AI fragments, ancient, half-corrupted systems from before the fall, still whispered tactical probabilities, suggesting surrender, hiding, waiting. Ava ignored them all. She didn't lead machines. She led humans, and that meant doing the impossible one last time. Weeks passed in endless silence. Stars blurred into infinity. Then, out of the static, a signal appeared. Faint, broken, but real. The bridge fell silent as it repeated, over and over, across every frequency. Humanity endures. The words were old, encoded in an ancient Terran format that no alien civilization had used for centuries. It came from deep inside the region known as the Dead Zone, a part of the galaxy even the bravest explorers avoided, a realm of warped gravity and broken space where ships vanished without trace. Logic dictated they ignore it. The fleet was dying, their resources nearly gone. Going into the Dead Zone was suicide. But logic had never defined humanity. It was emotion, defiance, and a refusal to bow before inevitability that had shaped them. Ava stared at the holographic star map, watching the faint signal pulse from that cursed region. For the first time in years, her eyes held something that had long been absent: purpose. "We're following it," she said simply. No one argued. No one questioned. Orders like that were not debated when you were the last of your kind. Engines came alive, their flickering light scattering across the void as 12 dying ships turned toward the unknown. As they entered the first gravitational storms, Ava recorded a message to the empty stars. "If anyone ever hears this, know that humanity did not die quietly. We are still out here, chasing the impossible, as we always have." And somewhere, beyond the edge of known space, the darkness stirred in answer. The signal repeated, stronger now, as if someone, was waiting for them. Fleet 9 accelerated, vanishing into the endless black. Humanity's final breath was not a whisper of surrender, but the first spark of defiance that would one day change the universe forever. The Dead Zone was a wound in space, a region where stars collapsed into shadows and physics fractured into madness. No species had ever mapped it. No probe had ever returned. The Galactic Council called it cursed, a scar left by some forgotten war. For Admiral Ava Corrin and the remnants of Fleet 9, it was hope. The signal repeating humanity endures grew clearer as they crossed the event horizon of known space, its rhythm echoing like a heartbeat. Instruments failed one after another. Navigation arrays spun without direction. Alien technology would have shut down instantly, but humans had prepared for chaos their entire history. They switched to analog systems, hand-crank controls, manual readings. No automation, no reliance on perfect algorithms. Only instinct and courage. Engines sputtered as gravitational waves twisted reality around them. Space bent, and stars flickered like ghosts. The fleet held formation by eyesight and trust. Their ships were old, but their pilots were older in spirit, born from generations who had learned to fight blind and still find victory. Ava's orders were few, her words deliberate. She didn't waste breath on inspiration. Her people didn't need it. Humanity had always performed best when the universe thought they were finished. Hours stretched into days, then into something uncountable. Time in the dead zone was meaningless. The crew slept in shifts, living on rations that tasted like ash. But none of it mattered when the signal strengthened. Its coordinates led deeper into the heart of the distortion, toward a massive debris field, hulks of ships, thousands of them, human and alien alike, floating silent and cold. The remains of battles erased from history. Yet among that graveyard, one ship still glowed faintly with power. Its hull bore an ancient insignia, Alio's initiative. Ava ordered a scan. Data crawled across the cracked displays. Earth technology, centuries old, somehow preserved. Inside lay the archives of Project Alios, humanity's last classified research before the fall. The files were fragmented, corrupted by radiation, but a message survived. It spoke of a cosmic algorithm, an energy matrix capable of rewriting the molecular patterns of dying stars. Its purpose, rebirth. The theory had been dismissed by alien science as impossible. The very concept defied the accepted laws of entropy. But humanity had always defied laws. The crew docked manually. Inside, they found the ship's command core intact, guarded by dormant drones and shattered cryopods. Thousands of names were etched along the walls, a list of volunteers who had vanished when the program was lost. The air was frozen, untouched for centuries. At the center of the chamber pulsed a sphere of light, the Alios core. It was cracked, leaking faint golden energy that shimmered like sunlight underwater. The signal they had followed was not a distress call. It was a beacon, designed to activate when humanity faced extinction. Ava stood before the core and understood. It was not just a weapon or a relic. It was a promise, a message left by those who refused to give up even in humanity's first collapse. The Council had declared them extinct, but extinction was never the end for those who carried memory as their armor. She contacted the fleet, her voice steady. We found it. Alios is real. A ripple of disbelief turned to quiet awe. Engineers began transmitting schematics. Scientists argued over energy readings. Pilots whispered prayers. For the first time since Earth burned, purpose replaced despair. Outside, the dead zone stormed and screamed, reality folding in on itself. But inside the derelict hull of an ancient ship, 12 dying vessels gathered around a light that had waited for centuries. The Alios core hummed louder, recognizing living human minds once more. Ava looked at the data stream flowing across her console. The coordinates it emitted pointed not backward to the ruins of humanity, but forward, to the future they had been too afraid to imagine. The fleet adjusted course. Their mission was no longer survival. It was resurrection. The Alios core hovered in the void, its fractured surface bleeding light like a living sun trapped in metal. What remained of Fleet 9 circled it cautiously, their ships creaking under the weight of impossible energy. For the first time in years, the humans aboard felt something greater than survival. They felt purpose burning through despair. Ava Corrin ordered all ships to synchronize power with the core, knowing full well it could annihilate them if they miscalculated even a fraction. The crew obeyed without hesitation. Death was inevitable. Legacy was optional. They chose legacy. The data retrieved from the Alios archives revealed the truth. The core wasn't a weapon but a cosmic rewriter, capable of transforming matter itself. It could reignite dying stars, resurrect barren worlds, even bend the rules of physics that civilizations had taken as gospel. But it needed something alien science could never produce: empathy, emotion, human neural energy. The algorithm required not just data, but belief. The very concept made alien physicists scoff, but it was the foundation of Helios. Humanity's chaos, its passion, was a missing equation. Engineers began dismantling their ships, cannibalizing weapons for conduits, redirecting power from life support to feed the core. They knew the math was wrong, the risk unacceptable, but they had never let impossibilities stop them before. One by one, reactors dimmed, corridors went dark, and the fleet became a ring of dying vessels encircling a single star of human defiance. Neural interfaces were connected, and hundreds of minds linked to the Helios network. Ava stood at the center console, her consciousness merging with the pulsing data stream. She felt everything: the thoughts of her crew, their memories of oceans, laughter, loss, and hope. Together, they formed the final key that alien equations had never accounted for: the collective will to live, not as individuals, but as a species that refused to vanish. As synchronization began, the Helios core reacted violently. Space trembled. The dead zone roared with gravitational echoes. But the fleet held position, every ship anchoring itself through sheer determination. The voices of the crew merged into one, whispering fragments of humanity's history, names, cities, promises. The core absorbed their memories, mapping emotion into energy. It was no longer technology. It had become consciousness. Ava's thoughts expanded beyond her body, beyond her ship, touching the edge of the storm where reality twisted. She saw the code inside creation itself, and with trembling defiance, she rewrote it. Alien sensors across nearby sectors began to detect the impossible, energy readings exceeding the output of entire stars. The Galactic Council dismissed it as phantom noise. To them, humans had long been irrelevant. Yet the dead zone blazed brighter with every passing moment. The core's fracture sealed, its glow turning into pure white fire. The fleet's remaining power was drained completely, life support collapsing, but none of the humans disconnected. They had become part of something greater, a living algorithm of consciousness and light. Ava's final transmission echoed across the void, her voice calm, resolute, and proud. If anyone finds this, know that we didn't seek revenge or victory. We sought remembrance. We wanted the universe to know we were here, that we mattered, that we loved, that we endured. The Helios core responded like a living heart, synchronizing with her words. The pulse it emitted was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Time itself seemed to hesitate. The darkness that had swallowed the dead zone receded, replaced by a light so vast it painted distant stars in human memory. The dying fleet dissolved into that brilliance, their atoms rewritten into the code of Helios itself. Humanity's last fleet had become the spark of something infinite, a fusion of thought and energy that defied extinction. The Helios core flared once more, sending a shockwave of light spiraling outward. It carried with it the last essence of humankind, not their bodies, but their spirit, their defiance, their unyielding will to exist. The light from the Helios pulse tore across the galaxy like the breath of creation. It moved faster than any known form of energy, rewriting the vacuum itself as it spread. Dying stars reignited, black holes stabilized, and forgotten worlds bathed in warmth for the first time in millennia. Across countless alien empires, instruments shattered as readings spiked beyond comprehension. The Galactic Council convened in panic, their finest minds unable to explain what had happened. They had believed the humans gone, erased from the equation of existence. But now, all of creation seemed to whisper their defiance. In the following days, the impossible continued. Systems long considered lifeless bloomed with energy. Planets frozen for eons now shimmered under newborn suns. The dead zone, once a void of silence, had transformed into a vast sphere of living light. Alien fleets dispatched to investigate returned silent, their senses blinded by interference that was not natural. Deep scans revealed a pattern buried within the energy itself, a repeating binary code echoing through every pulse of radiation. When translated, it formed a message simple and unmistakable: we made our mark. Remember us. Across the galaxy, entire civilizations paused. The arrogance that had once dismissed humanity now cracked under the weight of realization. The humans had not vanished. They had transcended. What the Council called reckless had reshaped the cosmos. Energy no longer decayed as it once did. Matter behaved with new flexibility. Entropy itself seemed to slow. Scholars debated whether the Helios pulse was a technological miracle or an act of consciousness beyond physics. Priests called it the awakening of the universe. Scientists renamed the phenomenon the human equation. It became the first universal constant no alien could fully define, a principle proving that emotion, belief, and will could alter the very fabric of reality. Fragments of the Helios core were later found orbiting a newly born star at the center of the dead zone. The material defied analysis, existing between matter and light. Embedded within its quantum layers were echoes of human thought, flickering images of faces, laughter, and words. When decoded, they revealed fragments of Ava Corrin's final consciousness, memories recorded not in data, but in the essence of the energy itself. Her last words, preserved in the resonance of the light, spoke across time. We were never the strongest, never the smartest, but we were the only ones who refused to die quietly. Generations later, young alien explorers would travel to that star, now called Sol Reborn, to witness what the ancients once feared to enter. Around it, they would find relics of Fleet 9, fuse holes orbiting in perfect symmetry, like guardians around a monument of light. The star's core pulsed with rhythmic waves matching a human heartbeat. Every few cycles, a faint voice still transmitted through subspace, distorted yet unmistakably human. This is Fleet 9. Humanity endures. The pulse that began in one forgotten corner of the galaxy continued to ripple outward, shaping new galaxies, seeding new stars. Even those who never knew the name of humanity lived under skies forever changed by their final act. They became the myth that physics could not erase, the proof that mortality did not mean insignificance. The universe itself had been rewritten by their refusal to surrender. And so, in the silence between stars, where all civilizations eventually vanish, the echo of human defiance remains, a whisper in the radiation, a warmth in every newborn sun. They had entered the void as the last survivors of a dying species. They became the architects of eternity. The universe, once indifferent, now carries their signature in every particle of light. The legend of the last human fleet endures, not as a story of survival, but as a truth carved into the laws of existence itself. Humanity did not disappear. It became the heartbeat of creation.